At a later time, not live on YouTube. Twitch.tv/smashamash is where it first appeared, and then later in syndication at youtube.com/smashamash, the official YouTube channel of the Smash News Network. Least busted name in news. First thing we're looking at are surface winds here, as we've got a tropical system making its way up the east coast of the U.S. There are the surface winds, and you see they're primarily blowing north and not particularly onshore. That's a good sign, as it makes the storm surge less. By the way, storm surges are caused by the air pressing less on the ocean. It's really a change in atmospheric pressure that causes a storm surge. It causes the ocean to swell up due to the low pressure of a thing like a hurricane. Anyway, there are the surface winds of the rest of the Western world. Here are the jet streams, which are getting a little bit more coherent over the U.S. now. We saw a massive breakup of jet streams over the past week where convective forces were in charge of things moving the weather as opposed to the jet stream, which is what caused so much turbulent weather, especially in the southern half of the country, and cold weather in the north. Let's take a look at the jet streams of the eastern world. And there are those, pretty chaotic in the southern hemisphere over on this side of the planet, a little more orderly in the northern hemisphere, except for one thing, blowing backwards over the western Pacific and indeed Indian Ocean. Although that's been weakening, we've been documenting it for a few days. Next, I'd like to thank our patrons, the true source of funding for the content on the channel. If you'd like all kinds of alerts about space weather and other things before anybody else, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/smashamash. Thanks again to our patrons. You are the executive and associate producers, depending on what tier you belong to, of the content. Without our patrons, we may not be doing the videos anymore, so perhaps you should thank our patrons as well. Patreon.com/smashamash. And we release all kinds of stuff that nobody else gets to see. Next, looking at the lightning mapper here, the NASA GOES lightning mapper, that is, and we've got a strong band of lightning here stretching all the way from Lake Ontario down to the Oklahoma Panhandle, really. A fairly coherent string of lightning there across a large portion of the country. Let's take a look at a real-time lightning map here from courtesy of blitzachtung.org. It's lightningmaps.org. It's where I go when I hear thunder. And some active lightning here in Europe as well. Let's zoom in as we've got some activity in the U.S. Hey, Springfield, there's thunder rolling, and you've got significant thunderstorms on both the north and the south of town, also in the west. Now, these are largely moving in a east-northeasterly path, so you might not even get these storms in Springfield. However, go out and take a look at the cloud tops. You may find sprites or green elves or all kinds of weird ultraviolet emitting phenomenon above the cloud tops. Take time-lapse photography. Your camera might be able to see things that the naked eye can't, as it can with aurora. In other words, if you're in a spot where there's likely to be events emitting light from space, go take images of them. We'll feature them on the videos. Next, talking about global cyclic pulses. Turns out one of the catastrophe cycles of Earth is a 27.5 million year cycle. Here's a quote from the article. We'll scroll the article so you can read it in a minute. The researchers posit that these pulses may be a function of cycles of activity in the Earth's interior, geophysical processes related to the dynamics of plate tectonics and climate. However, similar cycles in the Earth's orbit in space might also be pacing these events. Quote, whatever the origins of these cyclical episodes, our findings support the case for a largely periodic, coordinated, and intermittently catastrophic geologic record, which is a departure from the views held by many geologists, explained Rapino. So that should be of interest to many of our viewers. So this is our meteorology segment. And this is from the phys.org Earth section, which, while it is rife with sharticles, this one is probably legit, as the geologic record doesn't lie. Phys.org's Earth section, the 27.5 million year cycle of geological activity. Are we due for one of these 27.5 million year geological doomsday events? Probably not. But I'm going to let the article scroll here. They found that these global geological events are generally clustered at 10 different time points over the 260 million years, which, by the way, that would be a galactic level cycle, as that is somewhere around the same time frame of a rotation around the galactic core by the sun, grouped in peaks of pulses nearly 27.5 million years apart. The recent cluster of geological events was approximately 7 million years ago, suggesting the next pulse is more than 20 million years in the future. I hope you enjoyed that. Let's talk about climate. Let's see what's going on in Antarctica. Well, there's almost as much ice in Antarctica as there was in 1979, the most recent very cold time in the Earth's climate, and you can see here quite close to the same levels of ice extent in Antarctica that we saw in the early 80s, late 70s. So here's another graph. Sea ice extent in Antarctica. You can see how it's right in the middle of the beefy part of the range, the 30-year average there. Here's Antarctic ice extent. And you can see how much ice there was in 2014. So it was pretty low in 2017 and quite high in 2014, like 2 standard deviations above normal. And here's the extent tracker, and you can see how similar, how consistent the ice was in Antarctica in the 80s and 90s and 2000s and 2010s. Have you heard articles trying to fearmonger you into believing that Antarctic ice is melting? Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. And welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Check out our website, smAsho.com. Click on the smAsho merch button. It'll redirect you to our Redbubble shop. And look, there is additional discount available now. So we've got a discount running through the month of June. July 1st, our prices will all go up. However, you can save 20% site-wide with the code on checkout, SUMMER21. So check out our designs if you haven't seen them yet. Again, you can link directly from smAsho.com. Click on smAsho merch. You'll find this page. Today's featured product is the My Vaccination Status is None of Your Business HIPAA, featuring a high-resolution image of a coronavirus there. Is your vaccination status anybody's business besides your doctor or people that you choose to inform? Or do you need to provide proof of your vaccination status? And do you think that's a pathetic and ridiculous? Are you viewing from a different country where you don't have a law like the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996? Continuing on, let's just not talk about that at all anymore and move to windy.com to check out pressure cells. So we're going to zoom out and look at the pressure here of the planet as a whole, not a proctological whole, a geologic whole, full of water. Anyway, there's what's going on with pressure cells. We're going to advance this into the European forecast for tomorrow. There it is for pressure at 1300. That's 1300 Eastern Daylight Time. And let me just check the life of the stream before we continue on and get myself off of the screen. And let's go back to windy.com. They've got a great mobile app, by the way, if you've never checked it out. We use it on the regs at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Large and extremely I've learned how to speak English once again. Large and extremely dangerous tornado touches down in Chicago suburbs. So there was one heck of a line of storms here crossing into Lake Michigan yesterday morning. We covered it in yesterday's meteorology segment. And apparently there was some damage done. Hopefully not too much. Hopefully everybody survived. Initially touching down near the southern edge of Naperville, Illinois, before it tracked east through Woodbridge and Burr Ridge. The tornado was confirmed via radar with what is known as a tornado debris signature, more often measured as a debris ball. It can appear on radar once a tornado causes damage and lifts debris from the damage, hundreds or even thousands of feet into the air. It was the case for portions of DuPage County in northeastern Illinois on Sunday evening. So ending the spring the wrong way with a tornado there, late at night near Chicago, otherwise known as Shitcago. Here's the weather.gov map, by the way. This is the National Weather Service map, and you can see all sorts of, those are tropical storm warnings up the East Coast. The storm looks to me like it's moving out to sea. Let's take some more imagery of that. And there you can see it looks like it's moving off the coast here. We do see a continued bit of a counterclockwise rotation trend. And let's take a look at this in greater depth here. Here's what's going on in the cloud layer. It certainly looks like it's moving to the northeast. Looks like it's going to be offshore in an hour or two. Most of the rain about to exit Virginia Beach. Anyway, here's the water vapor map. And it's fairly clear sailing up here to the northeast. There's no dry mass of air for this to butt into as it travels in this direction. Although there is an atmospheric river over the center of the country. Check out all the moisture right there. Oh, I apologize. Anyway, here's a recap. It's the U.S. Doppler radar map. Some rain still striking the Gulf Coast here a little bit. And hopefully all of the damage is being cleaned up in places like Alabama where the Gulf of Mexico ended up on streets. Here's the cloud layer once again, and we'll close the video out with an animation of the water vapor map. Thanks for tuning in to today's meteorology segment. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. smAsho, signing off from the Smash News Network. Least busted, name in news.